So let me preface this by saying I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been a huge fan since elementary school, so I'm one of the biggest fans out there. But I will admit, even though I do say I'm a huge Star Wars fan, I don't read any of the comics. But I have accumulated a lot of Star Wars knowledge over the past couple of years from, watching videos, watching the Clone Wars TV show many times, and, other mediums that Lucasfilms has put out. So I may not know as much as other hardcore fans, but anything Star Wars related is sure to get me hyped. So when I first learned that Disney was making a show about the Mandalorians, I was beyond hyped. Mandalorians have not been explored in live action before, and their background remained very gray to those who have not read the comics, like me, and I would assume many other people. So I thought, the writers could explore what happened to the Mandalorians after the fall of the Empire, or something similar, separated into arcs that were similar to the Clone Wars, or perhaps Rebels, which is a more standard kind of show arc. However, what came out was actually different than what I expected, and in my opinion, actually could have been much better. So, The Mandalorian as a show checks off all the boxes for a sci fi action show. It is amazing visuals, perfect action sequences, and the most important part, spaceship in space. However, it really is just that, an action sci-fi show. For a show titled The Mandalorian, he kind of is more replaceable by really any kind of Star Wars type character. Like he could have been a space pirate, or more specifically, maybe like a deserter Imperial troop, or he could have just been replaced by some generic sci-fi franchise, and honestly, it would have been identical. My point is that there's so much to be explored with Mandalorians, and the show really chooses to barely touch on it at all. Like, they have small sequences, I remember, throughout the first and second season, but it's really not much to go on, and there's not much expanding or anything we're learning new. So it's like kind of like making a show about, a Jedi who just sits around all day, farming or something. So my next issue actually concerns the Bad Batch as well. It's the fact that both of these shows have a lot of episodes that really feel more like filler episodes. So as of writing, about half the season of the Bad Batch has come out, and I'd say that story-wise, not much has really happened. So far of the episodes we're getting of the Bad Batch, the general script is like they get into a situation that they can't get out of unless they do some X job that would give them what they need to go to Y planet and rinse and repeat. So with the exception of the first, the third, and the latest episode, they've all really kind of seemed identical, with not really many memorable moments or even interesting stories. This is how I really feel with The Mandalorian. The major distinction between The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian, however, is that The Mandalorian has an overall arc, while with The Bad Batch currently, I can't really tell what direction they're heading in, but that's a different kind of rant. So, although I haven't rewatched The Mandalorian much, if I even have at all, there isn't really an overall arc of the story going on, at least in the first season. I'll say that for the first season. And it was really more like the adventures of a Mandalorian rather than the Mandalorian. What I mean by that is, he's not really a central figure or like very even connected to the actual Mandalorians because he's part of a side kind of cult. I won't delve much deep into that, but he's not really part of the core Mandalorians like Bo-Katan, and that's for a different rant as well. So what separates the first and second season is that there appeared to be no real direction in the first season of where the show was heading. It was, as I said, more like adventures of a Mandalorian until he came across Baby Yoda, and in the second season, they focused on Baby Yoda, and that's what appeared to be the driver. However, they also kind of put in these filler episodes as well, where the Mandalorian has to go to X planet, where he does Y job to get Z information and rinse and repeat as well. So I understand that these episodes can actually add good value to a show, to space out story beats and to develop the relationship and connection between the viewer and the character. However, too many episodes of these can actually make for a boring show and even aggravating for me to watch, which appears to be what it's doing for me in the case of The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian. I would actually compare these shows to maybe like a watered down drink currently. You don't want the concentration to be too strong, but if you dilute it too much, what are you drinking anymore? So in the end, this is all my opinion, and nothing I say will have an effect on how the future of Star Wars shows are written or anything. But I want to add that I was actually considering dropping The Bad Batch this week if nothing meaningful happened this episode. Luckily, we got to see some stuff happening, but it's extremely infuriating to wait a week for a new episode from your favorite franchise to tell an interesting tale from this, out of this world universe, and then, nothing happens in that show. I also want to add the fact that the two sisters who came back from the Clone Wars episodes was a confusing choice by the writers, considering most of the Star Wars fan base didn't like them very much, and I actually skipped parts of that episode because I just really did not like those characters. I'm afraid for the rest of the Star Wars shows and the future of Star Wars shows. I know they have many shows lined up, but if they include the same story pacing and story planning, I'm not sure how interested I would be. And I know some of my friends share the same ideas as me. So, but that's for a rant for another day. So.